I learned very quickly how to figure out what works and figure out what doesn't work. And in the career atmosphere in the workplace, that I learned was one of the most important talents one could have.
Hello, this is Annmarie, your host of Scrubs Unzipped, unveiling healthcare's hidden passions. And today I have a very special guest. Her name is Dr. Gail, and she is a OB-GYN physician. And hi, Dr. Gail, how are you?
Hey, doing great. Thanks for inviting me. This is great.
You're so welcome. We met in Grenada at our vacation. I was like, oh my gosh, I want to have you on my podcast. So here you are. How are you today?
I really am. I really am so excited to just be here chatting with you. Um, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So, can you tell me a little bit about what got you started in your career as a physician?
Sure. Well, let me first say, as an OB-GYN, I actually figured out very quickly in medical school that I needed to have continuity of care with my patients. So I selected OB, but I'll tell you, when I was growing up, you would never have told me I would have gone into obstetrics and gynecology. I wanted to definitely do medicine. I was exposed to it early. I have a mom who's a pediatrician, and I said, "Oh, I'm going to follow mom. I'm going to do everything mom is doing." And I thought peds was going to be the winning specialty, but ended up making my way through to med school and selecting obstetrics because when I did my pediatric rotation, I did not like it at all. I did not. I did not like seeing children sick. I did not like how managing the child really meant managing the mom and dad. I couldn't find my fit in that space. But when I rotated through general surgery, I loved doing procedures. I loved it being in the operating room. And then when I finally, towards the end of that year, rotated into obstetrics and gynecology, realized that that was the right fit. It allowed me to do the procedures. It allowed me to have continuity of care with my female patients. And then it also allowed me to actually, deliver the babies. And that was just the most heartwarming thing. So I think I just figured it out very quickly that that was the right fit for me. So it wasn't peds, it wasn't general surgery, but it was in between. It was obstetrics and gynecology where you could do a little bit of everything.
Wow. So your mother really instilled in you, like is it like, did she pressure you into being like a doctor, or was it like
You know,
fate?
I hear you. But well, first of all, I do come up from a West Indian family. So, they
Okay.
are looking for you to have a substantial career, so you get your
Yeah.
education.
Yeah.
So I did have that angle, but at the same time, I really enjoyed medicine. Sciences were a thing for me. I really enjoyed the sciences. So I knew I was in my realm. I didn't even know what STEM meant back then, but I was a STEM girl for sure. So when I went to undergrad, I went there as a pre-medical student and catered my whole, existence towards pre-med.
Oh, wow. So when you grew up, are you an only child, or do you have
Actually, no,
siblings?
I'm the youngest of two. I have an older sister who's about 18 months older than I. And she went into business. She has her MBA, and I went into science. I enjoyed it. And actually, my major in undergrad was psychology.
Oh, wow. So how many years between you becoming a doctor and now? How
Oh,
many
wow.
years?
So I graduated from medical school in 1998, did a 4-year residency, finished in 2002. And I've been practicing ever since. So count the years. Many years, many,
Wow.
many.
Congratulations. That is
Mhm.
like, wow, that's amazing. And When so can you picture a time in your career or in your life where you had to overcome adversity?
Ooh, I think, just as a Black female trying to get an education, um, I think that that in and of itself is probably one of the first. I went to University of Virginia undergrad. I endured some of the, implicit biases that exist, in that environment. I endured my medical school career, which was, definitely challenging. Endured residency, which again was a challenge. It challenges both your endurance and not to mention your academic capabilities. Coming out of the trainings atmosphere and entering into the workforce, um, finding your space at the table, kind of concepts, even in the health field and healthcare arena, there's always those challenges as well. So one of the things I learned is to have a voice, to make sure, that, I'm heard and heard in a way that it can be received. And so that took some finessing because I think when, you first get out there and you're working it for any type of environment, my situation was always hospitals, you find that you have to learn how to finesse your voice so that it can be heard because people do have their biases or their initial impressions that oftentimes aren't even real. And I learned very quickly how to figure out what works and figure out what doesn't work. And in the career atmosphere in the workplace, that I learned was one of the most important talents one could
So when you say finesse your voice, do you mean like code switching?
have. In many Yes, in many aspects,
Yeah.
yes. And it also speaks to knowing your audience. You have to know your audience. It doesn't matter if it's work or you're out in a social setting. Know your audience, know who you're approaching, and how best to approach them. Even with patients, you got to know your patients. Sometimes it's just quick observation and then inserting what's necessary to that atmosphere at that time. Mhm.
Yeah, that is because who you're speaking to is very important, and even like the different populations that you deal with, you have to like speak their language.
That's right. That's right. The real.
So so I saw on your bio that you volunteered in Ghana. Is that
Yes.
true?
Oh, goodness. Yeah. So I really enjoy, first of all, just being in community, participating in programs that support community. But Ghana was a distinctive missions trip that I took right in 2020, right before COVID, actually. We were there for 3 weeks. We worked in the hospitals of Ghana, and we actually, as a large group of us, other medical health providers and myself, as well as people who supported the effort. But we had a actual campaign on antimicrobial resistance, where in countries such as Ghana, there in West Africa, what tends to happen is that there's antibiotics available, but they're not um, regulating them. And so our antimicrobial campaign literally spoke to the fact that, there needs to be better regulation for the antibiotics that are coming into the country and being sold within the country. And doing a teaching seminar on exactly what that means. And in obstetrics and gynecology, as my field, I was able to speak at the symposium to discuss exactly how that relates to this field and the pediatricians as well as the OB-GYNs that were available took avail to that.
Wow. So, how was the cultural difference? Because I volunteered in Nigeria. I helped with open heart surgeries there,
Mhm.
and the cultural shock was it was very different because I'm American,
Mhm.
and I've never been on that part of Africa before. So, how was that
I hear
cultural
you.
shock?
I will tell you, it definitely was a long travel. I think our layover was in Nigeria and Lagos. But I will tell you, I felt at home. I really felt at home. It was such definitely culturally different, but warm, inviting. We spent evenings together. We were able to, as a group, because there was at least 15 of us, we were able to, have our dinners together. We visited schools, we visited orphanage, we visited areas in the villages that where water supply was an issue. Uh, we even had our historical times, but where we actually went to different locations to just do sightseeing and enjoy the atmosphere. But I will tell you, everybody was so kind, so inviting. I even had some really good Jamaican food in Ghana.
Oh, thank God.
But
Wow.
every day was an adventure because everything was so new. But every day was an enjoyable day. I tell you, I had a ball. I wasn't even ready to leave. Not to mention all the clothes I came back with and the
Oh,
shopping.
nice. Nice. So you had a suitcase full of
Oh,
clothes.
yes. Mhm.
And they make their stuff that's handmade
Yes,
too.
yes, in minutes, in minutes. It was so amazing to me. So I really enjoyed it. I have to say.
Would you ever go back again or go
100%.
to
I'm
do
actually
another
making plans
mission?
to go back in 2025 with the same.
Oh,
Yes.
nice. Are you going to the same place or are you
Very
going to a different
likely. We actually, our organization is building a woman and children's hospital there in Ghana, outside of
Oh,
Accra. And we should be, the roof was just put up, as I just recently heard. And so it's something that's
wow.
coming up very soon that we'll be able to literally open the space. So it's going to be so
Nice.
2025. I'm looking towards it.
Is it going to be 3 weeks or
I don't
so?
know, at least two, because when I travel that far, I want to be able to have that time. But at least 2 weeks, I would say. I don't know about three. Three was definitely very,
That's almost
yeah,
a
I
month.
know, right? Yeah, it was really a great trip. Mm.
So I also saw in your bio that you are a mentor and you teach other physicians or
Yeah.
residents. So can you explain like how you teach?
Sure. So, as we go through as attendings on the hospital settings, we have residents. So we have other people who are training. They're just out of medical school and they're doing their 4-year residencies. Whether in my situation, I've taught the OB-GYN residents as well as family practice residents based on the hospital setting. So basically, I'm giving guidance to people who are in training. And that's, like the apprenticeship of medicine. Mhm.
So what would you say like a person who's interested in medicine, like what would you say the qualities would be good for if they want to be an OB?
First and foremost, having a passion, of the many residencies that are out there, obstetrics and gynecology is one of the most rigorous ones. So you really have to have a passion for it because you're investing your time and your energy. There's a lot of sleepless nights. You can't do call from home. You got to go in. So you know
Right.
that you must have endurance because you're going to be utilizing your energy. So you want to make sure that you're keeping yourself healthy because you know that your energy is going to be needed to do all the things that you need to do in order to complete your days and your nights on call in the hospital.
Wow. So I know that being a doctor is very busy, and there's actually a statistic that like over 50% of healthcare workers are going through burnout right now. So uh, are you, how are you dealing with burnout and how are you preventing burnout?
Yeah, that's such a great point, Marie. I will tell you, that self-compassion, self-care is one of the most important things. So I had to take a look at my life also, and I know in 2020, right after COVID, 2021, I was working as a hospitalist. I was in a hospital teaching residents, working nights, eating late at night, saying I'm going to sleep during the day because I worked all night and I wouldn't get my sleep and I would be tired and then I'd go off to do it all over again the next day. I can tell you that was where burnout was truly happening. I said goodbye to that position without any hesitation. I decided that I was going to do something that I loved and that I hadn't stopped doing, but I decided to do something called locum tenens. Locum tenens means I'm a travel doc. So my whole approach to practicing shifted after that experience. I focused my energy on booking under contract positions that I would just help out the hospitals that needed help, in which I could control my schedule. And controlling my schedule made all the difference in the world. I started doing locums in 2016, but I only did it part time. I would say, oh, I'll fit something in on my days off, which at the time sounded really good, right? But at the same time, when you start working all these longer hours, you're working nights and you're not getting your sleep, you start to realize, well, let me figure out what really matters in life. What's quality of life really look like for me? So what I do now is I travel. I have privileges at multiple hospitals, and as they need support, I will, if it works for my schedule, I will place them on my schedule, and I will travel to those locations. So most of those hospitals are in the New York area, DC metro area, and Virginia. Yeah, so that's where I am. And it's changed the whole milieu of my life. The quality of my life has improved, and that whole issue of burnout, has reduced for me. But I will tell you, in the midst of doing this change, I speak to other people and they're all like, well, what are you doing? I want to do that too. And so I have a lot of friends who I've referred to my company in order for them to transition as well. And they are doing it as well. And I'm finding a lot of people have stepped out of medicine or are finding niches within medicine instead of doing the whole full faceted practice. They're finding ways to narrow their scope in order to make their quality of life better.
I know, and it's just so like my platform. I say that you have to be a hero for yourself before
Oh,
you can be
yeah,
a hero
love
for
that.
others.
Yeah.
Because as a respiratory therapist, I like the I know COVID was a weird time,
Mhm.
and I had like a real bad anxiety storm. And then I was institutionalized. Like I've been institutionalized 4 times,
Mhm.
and I just realized during that experience that I need to take care of myself before I take care of others, because when you're in healthcare, it's like you're the helping
Mhm.
person, and everybody needs you, and everyone is like asking you, "Can you do this? Can you do this?" And then on my days off, I'm just like, "Oh,
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
okay."
and it's so true. I am in such agreement with you. So, you as a respiratory therapist, you are first in line for care and support for a lot of our COVID patients. So you get it. I know during COVID, as an OB-GYN, there were great concerns because I'm also a caregiver to my parents, and they're in their 80s. So as a result, me being at the hospital, especially prior to there being a vaccine and there being some sense of knowledge about COVID, that was a no for me. I had to make that decision right away. And so as I returned from Ghana at the end of February, and if you remember our everything that occurred for COVID occurred probably that second week of March. And I had to
Mhm.
make a decision. And so I couldn't go in for a period of time because I literally had to be here to take care of my parents. And that is exactly what I did. I took care of my parents, took some months off, and then went back to work once we knew we had some level of understanding. There were testings in place. And, that was when they were testing us almost every day, or every week at
Mhm.
the hospital. If I went and traveled to a hospital, I'd have to test before I went, I'd have to test after I came and returned back home. So we had a whole protocol during that COVID season. COVID is not gone, but now since we have so much more knowledge, we have vaccines, we use precautions, and we are able to, survive on that level. But we still have to be exceptionally cautious. We definitely do.
Yeah, and I say like it's good that you're not a pediatrician because there's it seems like with COVID, like RSV is kind of like
Yeah.
it's like it's like the kids were stuck inside for too long,
Hmm.
and then now they're going out, and now they got all these different viruses,
Oh
rhinovirus,
yeah.
coronavirus, all this virus.
We
So, what were you
I was just
saying?
going to say, I have a teen here who's very active, and that's the first thing I think, okay, you're coming over again. So we're going to have to make sure everything is well because, we have two 80-plus-year-olds in the house that need to be in good health, and we have to look out for them as the younger generations. Yeah.
That
Mhm.
is so like because my parents they're not 80, but they're getting older. So how do you take the reign of being a caregiver and also being a doctor?
It is a team effort. And I will tell you, we have a team. I have a sister who's older, I mentioned before, who's supportive of me when I have to travel for work. But we also have support in the week with caregivers that can stay here at the house and support them one on one. So it is a team effort.
Okay, that's
Mhm.
awesome. I'm glad that you're not doing it all by
Not at,
yourself
not
because
at
some people they don't have the resources to like have a team, so they do it by themselves. Like, do you have any advice for them?
One of the big things that we did was look at resources. When I first realized that my role was changing and that I needed to, be a support here at the house, I joined a group. I joined an interest group that other caregivers, because it was a big transition for me. That was a huge transition. So the group of caregivers, we would meet once a week and just have hear each other out. As a result of that, being a member of that group, I learned about resources. I learned where to find caregivers for the house. If one didn't work, I knew where to find another one. I free services here. I'm in the DMV area, so free services in the DMV area to assist not just the parents who needed the care, but as a respite program for those of us who are caregivers that need some time off. Can you imagine they actually exist and the county pays for them? And so I encourage people to look in their counties in order to see whether or not they have similar programs. But I tell you, all those things really worked well for me and continue to do so even now.
That is great. So, are your parents like? You don't have to reveal like. Are they like still themselves
Yeah,
or?
so I have a mom who has Alzheimer's, and but she's doing great. She's very mobile. She's negative. She may not remember what she had for dinner, but she will tell you all about the years past. Okay, so we have great conversations. But I also have a father who has more of the mobility issues. So the combination of the two, one is more mobile, and one thinks a lot better than the other. So the team of the two of them, the union of the two of them, makes one solid couple.
Okay. And so, like, you have a teenager and you have other people in your house. Like, how do you like bring the peace into your
Uh,
house?
well, the peace stays here. We're a God-fearing
Okay.
family. My niece is here on and off, and my sister, who doesn't live too far, is they come over all the time. So the teen in our life right now is a high school student who treks in and out and hangs out with us when she can, and we enjoy her very much. Mm.
Hmm. Are you instilling in her or them to be a doctor as well?
Now she has some interest. She loves her sciences. So I'm hopeful that she'll choose it, but whatever she wants to do, I'll support.
Awesome.
Right now, she's a
So,
fabulous volleyball player. So she does volleyball.
okay.
She's
I,
really great at it.
okay. Sports.
Hmm.
So you mentioned that you do locum, you do traveling physician,
Hmm.
and you also volunteer and do missions. So, like, what are some side passions, like the side?
So I am that person that they say, check your extrovert friends. Are they okay? Because I love community. So I'm a big community person. So I actually used to chair a health committee, and I started out chairing health symposiums when I used to live in New York soon after my residency. And I like to participate in programming throughout the community. So I sit on a board that deals with the aging and aging in place, the Village Board here in the DC metro area. And I also work with committees that deal with health related topics. I speak on podiums and do whatever they ask me to do when it's time. But I just really enjoy community activism and especially in the realm of healthcare. Mm.
Wow. So, what do you think, like, the future of, um, I would say healthcare, but specific to OB-GYNs? Like, are people having kids?
That's a heavy loaded question. Well, let me put it this way. First of all, there aren't enough physicians in the world. To accommodate the populations that we have, we need more people going into STEM. We need more people going into medicine and willing to practice in areas that are underserved. This is a really important thing. Doctors or physicians of color is going to be a very important topic of discussion, and it has been a very important topic of discussion as we think about maternal mortality issues that usually affect women of color. We want to have like physicians for our women. So this is a very important piece of obstetrics and gynecology. Implicit biases are hard, very difficult to change. And so when a patient has a physician who looks like them, who is within a culture that is similar to them, these patients have more confidence in their physicians. They're going to get better care, period. So I encourage more people to go into medicine. I encourage more people, physicians of color, to go into medicine. Obstetrics and gynecology needs you. Um, and hopefully, if there's supports needed, there are programs now rising up in many of the universities to support those people who want to get in there and get the information that they need, whether they do a post-baccalaureate program after undergrad because they didn't necessarily major in the pre-med um, coursework. That could be an option, and they can go right into medicine. It doesn't matter if it's later. It makes you just that much more interesting as you set up your medical school application. You don't have to be 21 to join med school. You could do it at 30. You're
Oh,
needed, and there's
really?
job security for sure.
Oh, really? You can do it at
That's
30.
right. That's right. You don't have to go to med school right out of undergrad. And plus, you want to live a little sometimes. Sometimes you need to have life experiences before you go because that level of focus and commitment that it takes to get through med school, you want to have all your fun before so that you can just focus. It's important.
So you didn't get a chance to have your fun, like when
I
you.
did. I came from a family that travels. I had lots of good life experiences. I did a post-baccalaureate program after graduating from University of Virginia. I got to work for a part-time while I did my coursework, and then I entered med school. So I feel like I'm somebody who had the balance.
Okay. That is awesome.
Mm.
So I wanted to know what I already talked about the future, but what would be like, what is the future that you would like to have? Like, what,
Ah.
like, if you could, like, have magical
All
powers?
right. If I had the powers and I thought about what my future would hold, I would say I would continue doing what I'm doing. I enjoy travel, so traveling is always going to be a part of my year. I kind of plot it out ahead. I know what I'm looking forward to, and then I plot my work experience to fit in between those spaces. So I would travel. I would enjoy life. And how we met. was in our Wanted Woman group, which was the Real Love Network, women achieving new triumphs every day.
every day.
So that's how we met. Well, I'm going to put that to work too, because in the Wanted Women group, one of the key things, finding real love, finding that level of intentional dating and intentional relationship that I'm going to need to partner with me when I go on all these trips and enjoy it, the life that I want to enjoy for this next number of years.
That's
Mhm.
great. And then you mentioned you brought it up. You brought up love. I didn't bring
Yeah.
it up. So, how do you show yourself self love?
One of the key ways is we said before, my schedule, modifying my schedule, giving myself the self care time, getting my sleep. Oh my goodness, that's one of the biggest things that I could do. And then honoring my body. I think the self compassion that I've been practicing is allowing me to be more specific and not feel like I have to say yes to everything, you know? So I'm a bigger no girl than I used to be. And many will say I don't say no enough, but I just say it more than I used to. So I'm giving myself a pat just for that. But
Okay,
saying no,
give yourself a pat.
saying no to some things because I can't do everything and I have to preserve. So learning how to do that and learning how to, pamper myself when needed. And also working enough so that I can. Yeah. Mm,
Well, that is so great. I'm glad you said yes to me,
me too.
Dr. Gail. Is there anything else you want to leave with the audience?
Uh, the one thing I'm going to always say is do put on your oxygen mask before you help anybody else, but take time to help other people. The reward is exponential. So uh, I live a life of service and I enjoy it. And I say to all folks, there's something you can do for your community and just get out there and figure out what that is and enjoy it. And it'll mean a lot, not just to them, but you'll find it means even more to you.
Awesome, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Gill, for taking the time out to be on the podcast. And that's it,
Well,
folks.
thanks for having me. Bye, everyone.